Hey, so this is like my first video for this channel, and I'm just gonna run you guys by some things I've been doing with my iPad. I've been kind of getting into art a little bit over the last year and doing some things like this is a galaxy piece I made when I was playing around with brushes. There's like some anime art examples that I've been practicing. I've got some like anatomy practice up here, and I've got like some flow practice here. Got a cute animation that I made based on a video that I saw. So we've got this cube. It's not the smoothest animation, but it gets the job done. This isn't really a tutorial. This is more of just a sort of what's this channel about, what am I going to be doing. Here's some more of my like pose art stuff. This channel is basically going to be a combination of a vlog for me to like vlog my art progress. Here's a crazy one I did. This one actually. This one is like a sort of, I got inspired to make like a sort of fairy-esque, like kinda almost like a fairy forest type thing. So there's that. So yeah, I've been practicing anatomy here as well, and this isn't sponsored anyway, but if you are wondering what I'm using currently to record, I've just got my basic iPad. I've got this thing. This is the Logix Tripod 360. I got this off of what was it? I think it was London Drugs. I got this for like 45 bucks. It's a pretty, like, it's a bit shaky. You gotta put it on like a mouse pad or something to get a no-slip surface. The thing I don't like is you can like see the legs, and also if I'm recording my iPad with it, I don't get like a very good like zoom in view. Like I can zoom in, but obviously it's not gonna be the best. But I didn't have tripod for stable recording, and I saw a lot of YouTubers doing iPad stuff, and I wanted to get into that. I just really like sharing what I'm doing. So this right here, about 45 bucks got me this, so it wasn't that bad. It was kind of expensive. Also, I'm sorry for any background noise. Another thing I want to mention that's been a big part of my art journey so far is this book here. Here, I'll pick it up. How to Draw People. So there's that. It's by Jeff Milliam. Right there. Oh no, my tripod's falling. This is gonna be a very clunky video until I get my sort of formatting and like vibe down. So that book helped my art journey a lot. I'll just show you a couple things from it. Like, it goes over like poses and stuff. It goes over like shapes, but I struggled for a while with this because I would art tips, right? One thing is I would try to like draw like the perfect circles, the perfect like I would try to like get the example like perfect. I'll show you something. So in this anatomy example I've got here, I drew this. And let me just find the page real quick for you guys. But here it is. So there's my drawing I did on my iPad, and here's the example given in this book. There it is, right there. So as you can see, it's not a perfect replica, and you can tell there's many flaws in my lining, very much so still. But a huge benefit of this, also I apologize for the camera instability, I'm trying to put the tripod back up. A big benefit of this book here is that it allows me to study anatomy without having to rely on too much. I could take this book anywhere with me and basically learn. Now my target style, believe it or not, is actually anime, like anime illustrations. But I learned, one thing I've been learning is that I actually love studying anatomy. It's been such a passion. I've improved on my art so much, and one thing I learned that's very important that I want to share with you guys is that it doesn't matter what stage you're at. Like, you don't need to beat yourself up over not being able to get those lines perfect. If you see an example in a book, right, and you can't draw it, like you literally can't draw it, like you draw it and the proportions are all wrong, and it's just so frustrating for you, because I went through this. There's hope. Your brain can improve. You can actually do it. I just want to encourage you guys, if you feel like giving up, I've been practicing on and off casually for almost a year, and this is where I'm at. Like, not only that, but I want to get into painting more too, so I'll be covering like my learning with how to paint on the iPad. I do use Procreate, there's other apps you can use, but like I've done a lot of different kinds of art practice too. Like, it's not all just one thing. Like, I've experimented quite a bit. Like, this thing was just very strange. Just got bored one day. I grabbed my iPad. I started doodling, and this is what we got. So, to basically sum it up, I cannot stress how important it is, right? Like this one, I did this one. Right, I did this one. So basically what I did was I've got layers here, and I used reference. Okay, this was one of my first big reference drawings. So there's all my reference, right? So what I did was I did a reference layer, copied the layer, moved it over, right? So if I actually hide the current layer that we're on, right? Which one is it? There, right? So this is what I did. I took the image, right, and then I traced it by hand, okay, from an image overlay, and I made the image layer more of an opaque, right, and then what I did was I copied that tracing over to here, right, so I could get the lines, right. Oh, actually, this one wasn't, yeah, so what I did was I traced it, okay, and I drew these lines, like a star, right, like, you want your vertical axis, you want your horizontal axis, and then you want your angles. And what I discovered, which really helped my brain, was that I was able to pay more attention to the spacing. So I was able to, like, where's the 6B? Hold on a second. Sorry for not editing this video, but it's just the first one. Where's sketching 6B? So what I did was I got this, right, this whole thing going, and these lines, after tracing it and getting the line art necessary, right, I drew it from eye to eye, and this is what I learned. So I saw a YouTube video when I was doing this exercise where your eyes, right, if they have to travel like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, the distance your eyes have to travel, I saw that in a YouTube video, they actually did research, the distance your eyes have to travel between this and this changes how accurately you can draw these proportions to a degree. And different people have a different amount of stabilization with it. So, like, you may not be one of those people who struggles with this, but I very much did. And I noticed that I was able to, for example, this section here, there's this line. Oh, this is too thick. Hang on, sorry. There's this line here, right? And there's this section here that comes from this line. So I can generally judge this shape here, right? It's kind of a pokey kind of triangle that sticks out this way. And if I copy that shape, right, because I can see where it starts and ends, it's a much smaller thing for me to focus on, I can then apply it to this area here, because the line, right, the angling is the same, because I also copied the exact line, but I did not duplicate the line art. I actually did the line art by hand from this as reference. And what I found was I could actually draw this complex piece like this, right, by hand. And then what I did is I went and I took it, right, and I colored it in first, right, so get rid of those references. I colored it in first, and then I decided to go crazy with the light pen, and this is the result. And if that's another layer, right, but I think I'm showing the wrong one. There we go. I messed up all the layers here. It's here somewhere. That's the original reference, okay, right there in the background, and yeah, so that's one thing that was helping me early on, and now I don't need to rely on this method anymore, because after practicing stuff like that for so long, right, I've gotten to the point where, for example, like I said, with this anatomy example here, I was able to pretty much use the same method and visualize, like, okay, what is the distance between these two parts here? Why is the opacity why is this pencil so, like, weak? Isn't this the 6B? I would have thought that I had this pencil being stronger. I don't know. Maybe I'll go with the HB. anyways, I guess for this I would have been using, like, I don't know what I was using, honestly. But, I think I was using, it's monoline. No. Anyways, the point is, right, that between here and here, I was able to judge the spacing. And then I was also able to judge the spacing between here and here. And in my mind, right, I was able to visualize this distance as sort of like this, roughly, right? And then I was also able to, like, visualize this distance here. I was able to visualize this distance here from these 2 points. I was able to kind of get an idea of, like, how big the head is with practice, right? And then I was able to visualize, like, roughly the size of this area. Knowing where, like, the hand starts, right? From reference, I was able to basically, in my mind, be like, okay, that's where the hand has to go, so the arm has to be, like, this long. And I started discovering, like, when I thought about the different points on the body, right? Like, here is a point, here's a point, here's a point, this is one big point, this is one large point of reference, right? This is a point, this is the shoulder, this is a point, this is a midpoint between these two. And when I started thinking about the relationships between the space relative to pieces of the drawing, right? The drawing stopped being like, watch, something magical happens when I do this. I started realizing that these points, right? Like all of these, you could quite literally start representing this entire thing. Like, there's the clavicle, right? There's the clavicle. If I were to hide, well, I think it's all in the same layer, but you get the idea. If I build this as a reference, right? Like, if I were to draw over my own art and build this out, right? Suddenly, I've got a basic body, right? And I always hated the noodle arm references. I always did not like the... I should probably undo that. Oopsies. Oopsies. I don't know if I can undo those. I think I messed it up. Yep, I messed that one up because I exited out. That's I have pictures of it, so it's fine. But like, damn. So, but like, if I create a new, I don't know if I can draw sideways. I'm gonna have to draw like sideways and then flip it. Right. So if I get my brush, chalk is not what I want. 6 feet. I'll demonstrate what I mean here. Textures, sketching. So one thing I've learned, I will use the HB pencil, but I need to figure out why it's doing this. Anyways, this should be fine. Actually, I might go for syrup. Drawing, inking. It's under inking, syrup. Syrup is really nice, but it can also be your worst enemy. So it's probably just the color's not dark enough because I want a black. That's what it was. So if I was to draw the same thing here, and I'll do it this way and then flip the screen. Actually, I'll flip it this way. Draw it this way and then flip it so you can see it. So if I was to, for example, draw like... That was bad, but like... cheat a little. I'll draw the head. I'll think of it in proportions, right? So like... the neck should be here, maybe. And then like... we've got the clavicles, like somewhere like here, right? These are points here. There's the shoulders, right? The arms, like, they need to extend out. So I'm going to imagine where the elbows are. Like, say I want the hand up, kind of waving, but side out. There's one elbow. I want this hand kind of at the side, so there's one. Right? That's proportionate. And the hand's going to be kind of here. The hand for this one is going to be kind of here, because this is the perspective, right? I'll connect these lines here. I'll draw, like, a bad hand, right? I'll draw these lines here and here, right? And all of a sudden, like, the chest area of the body starts making sense, because if I draw this line down for the spine, right? Say I want a line of action. I draw this. I draw, like, what the spine would look like. Now I can do this, and off of this I can build, watch this. If I draw a simplified heart shape, right? There's that torso cube structure again, right? Right there. I can just fill that in. And then, if I do this, right? Now, the legs, where the legs come from, there's gonna be a sort of stump here, right? Because the legs do not just come like this, I've learned, right? Like, you can't just draw sticks and have it be, I mean, depending on the drawing style, right? But here, based on the length of the arms, right? Roughly, here's where the knees are. So we're gonna draw these legs. And they do taper a bit to the knees, which is why you kind of go in, right? That's why I'm going in a bit. But watch what happens. I draw the leg bone here. There's the knee, right? So you've got my knee. There's the perspective. Now, where do I want the feet? What if I want one of the feet kind of awkwardly like this way? Right? So I want to bring that in. And then if I want the other foot like kind of more like down here, right? So like kind of out. So kind of like this structure here. And then we'll bring that in. And presto, I've got my entire model for body, right? Like, so how many heads is this? 1, right? So roughly 1. Roughly 2. And then we'll count again, roughly 3. It's not exactly perfect, but no, there's roughly 3, right? Okay, roughly 4, right? Roughly 5, so the knees. And roughly 6, right? And the legs, 6.5. So this is roughly 6.5 heads tall. And, like, you know, just like that, okay? I've got it, right? So, and with this, like, if you make this more complex or you spend more time on it, you can get literally, like, any pose. And so, I skipped the entire stickman thing, because I find it to be, like, disingenuous. Like, for example, how am I gonna turn this, right? This is fine for, like, understanding poses, but, like, how am I gonna turn this into that, right? That's fine, but then you start to get weird proportion issues. Things start maybe not lining up. And if you do this, right, you can get, like, some very wonky proportions, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heads, and this is 6.5, right? So if I've got, like, roughly 5 heads here, and 6.5 here, obviously this method, it gives you a better idea of, like, the 3-dimensionality, right? Because, like, if I draw a cube here, right, and then I do this, I've realized, right, how many cubes tall is this? And my mind can easily imagine, like, more cubes stacked on top of each other, like here, right? And, like, this splits, and then, like, another one, and this splits. I'm doing this really poorly, but, like, you get the idea. And if you build with the idea that this is a 3D object, like, suddenly you can get way more kind of depth. And I've only just started recently learning how to put this to use, right? Like, there's an arm, right? And that's actually not bad. I could imagine this is, like, some kind of knight helmet for, like, a robot or whatever. Again, sorry for the background noise, right? And all of a sudden you've got, like, this, right? You could literally turn it into a figure. Certain poses are harder, which is why, again, I've got, like, references. This is, like, the skeletal anatomy. I'm going to be studying all of this. Is going to be, like, going much more in depth, right? This whole book is amazing. There's some feet there. I'm not going to show that on YouTube. Like, there's musculature and all that, but in my current art journey, what I'm exploring right now is, like, a lot of, like, here's a good one, right? I'm exploring representative structure. Like, this was me just messing with, like, again, the flow, right? I try to learn those, but, like, I do much better when I go straight to 3D. That might not work for everybody. I did a lot of stickmen. Like, I did a ridiculous amount of stickmen just to, like, warm up on the basics, but I would say don't fully skip it. Learn the structure, and then, like, once you feel confident, like, here's another one. I was practicing skulls, right? So this one was chased, actually, right? That one was chased, and then I did a freehand copy of it to try to mimic it. And you can see, my lines are not perfect. None of this is perfect. Like, if I was a perfectionist, I would be so mad. I did bad, right? But no, you cannot be a perfectionist and be an artist. Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna hold yourself back, and that's what happened to me. I, like, held myself back so much, right? Like, I would draw like this, okay? And I would be like, this is terrible, I hate this. And then I would try again, and try again, and try again. And I always got, like, frustrated. Here's one that I actually liked from back in the summer. You can see, my line work ain't perfect. okay, and I've actually improved on my line work a lot, but this I wanted to do more detail, because one of my recommendations is, even if your line work isn't perfect, draw in detail. Detail. Practice detail as well, because you will only get better if you step outside of the stickmen. And I spent so long trying to make like perfect stickmen, right? Like I wanted this to be perfect before I moved on to that. Don't. But also don't skip the stickmen either. Like find a balance. Balance is key. That's about all for now. I followed a tutorial to make this one. This one was like a boba tea thing. I was trying to learn painting and stuff, but like the point is, like, expand your mind, expand your art journey, do different art, do different wild things, play with light pens, like play with the light pen, play with, like, you know, everything. Like, don't limit yourself. Play with, like, different strokes, different brushes, do experiments, like draw random stuff. Like, even if you're bad, like, this is a completely different, I went for a completely different style here. I was trying to see if I could draw something more like, you know, bulky and kind of like a little less average. Like, and then there's this, right? Like, I was going for like a girl leaning forward, right? And I wanted to capture another. This is again a completely different art style. This is like a complete 180 from what I want to do. I want to do like high quality anime style illustrations, but again, like. And then, of course, this is, like, brush painting. I was trying to make clouds, right? And this was a very bad rendition, but, like, the idea is, to wrap it up, really is, you've gotta be willing to, like, explore, open your mind, try all kinds of things. Be open, because it will only help you. Like, this was just some abstract different pen brushes I was using to see what effects I could make. I was just messing around, but I was doing it because this teaches me what my tools are. Another tip I want to know is, like, I want to tell you guys, learn your tools. Learn what you can and can't do with them. Learn your limits. Learn, like, this was a sketch that I did that was suggested to me, and I basically went for it. This was a mess. This was a lot of layers, trying to redraw, like, the same line art. So I took a picture of the line art on paper, right? This was the mess I started with. I drew this on paper, and you guys can see just how bad I was compared to how I am now. This was, like, really early last summer. I was, like, horrible at understanding figure and form, and, still kind of am. Right, I went from this to what you see now, right? So if I turn this layer back on, if I turn that layer off and turn that one on, then I had this, right? And I went from this, because this was a tracing of my line art, and I was like, this is still bad. Right? I converted it to something that makes a lot more sense visually, and here we are. And, like, don't be afraid to iterate on your art. Don't be afraid to make another layer and redo some of your line work if you feel that you want something more quality. And, again, like, look at this terrible hand I did. Like, I'm not good at hands yet, and that's one of my insecurities, but you know what? I get over it. I just keep drawing. Just keep drawing. Don't draw every day. Just draw when you feel up to it. Draw to your heart's content. If you want to draw every day, draw every day. If you want to draw, like, once a week, draw once a week. I don't practice every day, and this is still my progress. I do not practice every day. Practicing every day will destroy you. Maybe not everyone, but, like, for me, practicing every day burns me out, so I need to take breaks. I need to let my mind refresh. Here, right, I was trying to visualize 3D cube rotation, to, like, understand perspective better. And I mean, I know there's perspective guides, right? But, like, it's good to test and challenge yourself. Here's another one I drew from my example book. This was, like, the skeletal area of, like, the pelvis and the legs and the bones, right? Somewhere in here, I've actually got drawings on paper, actually, believe it or not. To really show you, like, I've got the stuff here. I've got, you know, from my anatomy book. I drew a skull the other night. Oops, I drew my Apple Pencil. That can work. I'm a bit clumsy. And here, you know, there's this skull. I've got, right, so, like, you really just gotta practice. Don't beat yourself up. That's probably the best advice I could give anyone, because if you beat yourself up, oh, I just realized that's probably should be filtered out. Anyways, that's that. Don't beat yourself up. That's my advice.